Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into the world of fan parks at international football tournaments.
I love this topic.
I know, right? It's
Yeah.
those temporary spaces where fans can gather, watch matches, soak up the energy,
Absolutely,
and celebrate the beautiful game together.
Yeah.
We're going to be unpacking a research paper today
Okay.
that analyzed 15 men's football mega events between 2002 and 2019.
Okay.
And
Wow.
the evolution of these fan parks is a fascinating story.
It is. Did you know that these spaces often attract more people than the actual stadiums?
Really? That's wild. I would not have guessed that.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It's almost hard to imagine a tournament without them now.
Yeah, you're right.
But get this.
Okay.
They weren't always around.
Really?
Back at the 2002 World Cup in Japan, organizers were really wary of potential hooliganism.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense. And kept public viewing areas pretty limited.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting.
It's interesting to compare that with South Korea.
Right.
The co-host for that World Cup.
Right.
They had a much stronger street cheering culture already.
Yeah.
And embraced public viewing areas.
Interesting.
Quite enthusiastically.
So different approaches.
Totally.
Like, for sure.
In Japan, though, it seems like there was this concern that enthusiastic fans might cross the line into unacceptable behavior.
Right.
And that really shaped the fan experience outside the stadiums.
For sure. For sure.
Then we jump ahead to the 2004 Euros in Portugal.
All right.
And things start to shift.
Okay.
Lisbon set up a single fan park, and it was a massive success.
Wow.
It's like that one fan park planted the seed for what became a mainstay at future tournaments.
Interesting.
Then, bam! The 2006 World Cup in Germany
completely embraces the concept.
Wow.
They had fan parks in all 12 host cities.
Nice.
And they attracted a staggering 21 million visitors.
What? 21 million? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible.
That's a lot of people.
That's a ton of people.
It's tempting to just see that as Germany copying a successful idea from Lisbon.
Yeah.
But more nuanced than that.
Yeah.
Germany already had a strong, deeply rooted football culture.
Of course. Yeah.
And the fan parks really tapped into that.
Yeah.
They became these incredible symbols of national unity and celebration.
I love that.
A journalist at the time even said these parks were, quote, Germany's living room.
That is such a good quote.
Right.
Yeah, that's perfect.
I love that.
So true.
And it wasn't just about national pride, right?
Right.
Didn't these fan parks actually help manage security concerns too?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I mean, wouldn't it be easier to keep an eye on everyone in a designated space?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
The security aspect was a big factor, especially after some of the hooliganism issues at previous tournaments.
Of course.
And when we get to Euro 2008, with its smaller stadium capacities and sky-high ticket demand, fan parks became almost essential.
I can see that.
They helped absorb all those fans who couldn't snag a ticket, especially with some tickets on the black market, going for hundreds of euros.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So we can see how fan parks kind of naturally evolved out of a need to accommodate more fans and manage security.
Right.
But it wasn't all smooth sailing, was it?
All right.
It turns out the concept of a dedicated space to gather and watch a match isn't universally embraced.
Oh, interesting.
This idea of cultural resonance is key.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Could you explain a bit more about what you mean by cultural resonance?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So essentially it means that some ideas or traditions just click better with certain cultures than others.
Right.
For example,
Okay.
our researchers spoke with fans in South Africa during the 2010 World Cup.
Okay.
And many of them said they just weren't familiar with the fan park concept.
Really?
One even said, quote, "We don't really have them in Africa."
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
So it's like fan parks didn't quite fit into their existing football culture.
Yeah, exactly.
They had their own ways of enjoying the game.
Right.
Exactly.
And it wasn't just South Africa.
Okay.
Fan parks were also largely absent from the 2011 Asian Cup in Qatar,
Okay.
the 2017 Africa Cup of Nations,
Right.
and even the 2011 CONCACAF Gold Cup
Wow.
in the USA.
Okay.
Though it's worth mentioning that the Gold Cup had its own unique pre-game party tradition.
Oh, yeah.
Tailgating.
Yeah.
Where fans gather in the stadium parking lots.
I love tailgating.
It's great, right?
It's so fun.
Totally different vibe for sure.
Yeah, totally.
But just as vibrant.
Absolutely. So it seems like the fan park concept wasn't an instant global hit.
It seems not, no.
But even with those cultural differences, there's no denying they've become a huge part of the tournament experience
for sure.
For many fans.
Yeah.
What do you think it is about these spaces?
That's a good question.
That makes them so appealing.
Well, they offer this incredible blend of excitement, accessibility, and that feeling of shared experience. You know, surrounded by thousands of people who are all there to celebrate football, and that creates a kind of energy that's hard to replicate anywhere else. Yeah,
I can only imagine. The research mentions some amazing quotes from fans and volunteers about the atmosphere.
Oh, cool.
They talk about this strong sense of community, the chance to connect with people from all over the world, and the joy of experiencing football on such a massive scale. There's this quote from a volunteer at Euro 2008 in Bern.
Oh, wow.
That I love.
Okay.
They said, quote, "We're open from 11 in the morning until midnight, 2 a.m. at weekends. There are cultural programs, and every match is shown on the big screens."
Sounds pretty awesome.
Oh, no, right?
Yeah.
It sounds nonstop.
Yeah, they go all out to create this festival-like environment. You know, it's not just about passively watching a match. It's about being immersed in the whole culture of the tournament.
It makes you think about the people who say fan parks are too commercialized and lack the charm of a pub.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think it's a valid point.
Yeah.
It boils down to personal preference, really.
Right.
Some people thrive on that massive organized atmosphere, while others crave the intimacy and tradition of a local pub.
Yeah.
There's room for both, I'd say.
You know, I was lucky enough to be at the Copacabana fan park.
Oh, wow.
During the 2014 World Cup.
Nice.
And wow, what an experience. They had this mini rave going on at one point.
Really?
And when the football came back on the screen after a break, people actually booed.
No way.
Because they wanted the music back.
That's amazing.
It really did blur the lines between a sporting event and a cultural festival.
Yeah, that's a fantastic anecdote.
Right.
It speaks to that fusion of entertainment and football that fan parks offer.
Yeah.
But of course, we can't talk about fan parks without addressing the security aspect.
Yeah, for sure.
They're often seen as safe havens.
Right.
Especially in cities known for, shall we say, passionate fans.
Right. There's a quote from a fan in Warsaw during Euro 2012 that really stood out to me.
Right.
They said, quote, "There's been trouble here, especially Russian fans, and Polish police can be harsh. You're safer in the fan parks. Never any trouble."
Wow.
That perception of safety is so important.
It is, yeah.
A police officer at the 2006 World Cup in Frankfurt even explained why fan parks are easier to manage than open squares. He said they have fences, controlled entrances, and security checkpoints, which make it much simpler to monitor crowds and prevent potential issues.
That makes sense.
Right. It makes sense. You can control the flow of people in and out much more effectively.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But there's also this idea called shared space theory.
Okay.
That the research touches on.
All right.
It suggests that the lack of segregation inside fan parks, the fact that rival fans are all mixed together, might actually help deter violence.
Interesting.
I have to admit that's a little counterintuitive to me.
It is counterintuitive, but there's evidence to support it.
Really?
Yeah, the theory argues that mixing fans can actually reduce tension. Segregation, on the other hand, can sometimes create a sense of us versus them that can escalate aggression.
Okay.
Like they're keeping their friends close and their enemies closer.
Right. Interesting. So you have this controlled environment with a mix of fans and a strong security presence.
Yeah.
It sounds like a recipe for a safe and enjoyable experience.
It does.
But then there's this whole other layer emerging.
Okay.
And it's something I know a lot of our listeners have strong opinions about.
Oh, what's that?
Technology.
Ah, yeah, technology.
Fan parks are becoming increasingly high-tech.
They are.
We're seeing Wi-Fi everywhere.
Of course, yeah.
Facial recognition systems being implemented. And even fan ID systems that track attendees' movements.
Wow.
And that brings up all sorts of questions about privacy and surveillance.
That does.
Does all this tech make us feel safer, or does it create a sense of unease?
Right.
I'd love to hear our listeners' thoughts on this.
Yeah.
It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
For sure.
but it's clear that technology is changing how these events are managed.
Right.
And it's impacting the fan experience in ways we're only beginning to understand.
Absolutely. That's a crucial point.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about another controversial topic.
Okay.
Alcohol. Remember, the initial hesitation around fan parks stems from that fear of hooliganism.
Right.
And alcohol was seen as a potential catalyst for trouble.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting how the perception of alcohol in fan parks has shifted over time. Wasn't serving beer in the fan parks at the 2006 World Cup in Germany seen as a way to create a more relaxed and welcoming atmosphere?
It was a deliberate decision to foster a sense of trust and normalcy. There's a quote from a fan who said it made them feel like they were being treated as responsible adults rather than potential hooligans.
And for the most part, it seems to have worked out well. I mean, the research didn't mention any major alcohol-related incidents in the fan parks they studied, even in places like Brazil, where the party atmosphere is legendary.
That's right. But then we come to the 2019 FIFA Club World Cup in Qatar.
Okay.
And things get really interesting. For the first time ever, alcohol was served in a fan park in a Gulf state, a region with traditionally strict cultural norms around alcohol consumption.
Wait, really? In Qatar? How did that happen?
It was quite a unique situation. Liverpool Football Club won the tournament that year.
Yeah.
And they had this incredible partnership with a music events company called BOSS.
Okay.
Who had already organized massively successful fan parks in other cities.
Wow.
When Qatar was chosen as the host.
Okay.
Liverpool and BOSS worked closely with the local organizers to create a fan park that felt authentic to the location, but also incorporated elements that would resonate with international fans, including, crucially, the serving of alcohol.
So a Premier League club, a savvy events company, and a Gulf state walk into a fan park. It sounds like a joke, but it actually happened. It makes you wonder if this could change things for future tournaments in the region, especially at the 2022 World Cup having just happened there. Do you think we might see alcohol become more common in fan parks in places where it's traditionally been restricted?
It's definitely a possibility, and one that raises a lot of questions. There are considerations around cultural sensitivity, existing social norms, and how these mega events interact with local customs. That's a complex issue.
For sure.
What do you think? Would you be more likely to attend a fan park in a country like Qatar if alcohol were served? Would it change your perception of the event or your desire to even travel there in the first place?
That is a fantastic question to wrap up this deep dive. I think we've covered a lot of interesting ground today from those early fan parks.
We have.
That were maybe a little bit hesitant all the way to where we are today, where there are these massive celebrations of football and culture and community and technology.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been really fascinating to see how they've evolved.
Yeah, yes.
And I think it's really interesting to think about where they're headed in the future.
For sure.
So for everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of fan parks. If you've got any thoughts or experiences you want to share about fan parks, head over to our website or find us on social media. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, happy deep diving.